Alright, g'day everyone and welcome to this tutorial. You can see here I have some orcs set up. Today we are going to cover how I go through doing the bases for these models. I get a lot of questions about it on Instagram and on YouTube on how I do it and how I do it with so many models. It's a really quick little technique to get a lot of bases out looking fairly good in a very short amount of time. And I mean very short amount of time. I'm thinking probably you could do 10 bases, 25mm bases in probably half an hour if you put your mind to it. And bigger bases are, of course, not much harder. It's the same technique, it's just a little bit more to paint. But we're going to run through the whole process. I'll show you start to finish. I'll show you all the materials you're going to need, and then we'll get stuck into it. Okay, so we're actually going to do a elongated oval base today. I haven't actually got a use for it, but it's a base I had sitting around. We'll cover this one. Now, obviously the biggest thing you're going to need for these bases is cork tile. Now this comes in various different shapes, sizes and sort of patterns as well. I was fortunate enough to get a really big batch of about 15" by 20" pieces. This is about 3mm thick, but this is really good because it's got really rough pattern on it. These marks that you see here, they're actually really deep, so they're probably like 1 or 2 mil deep, really rough and almost like the texture of stone. So I really like this. I don't remember where I got it from, so apologies there, but if you hunt around different cork suppliers, even hardware stores as well, have a look out for it. A lot of the time I come across cork that has no texture on it. It's just this corky flat pattern or really fine grain pattern. I don't use that because it doesn't give it enough natural look. This stuff is really good. So if you do find this kind of stuff, yeah, go ahead and use it. It's really good. We're going to use this today for our bases. Okay, so I've broken myself off a little bit of tile here. This is enough obviously to put this base on, or you could put a whole bunch of little bases on there all at the same time. But the first thing we're going to do is super glue the base to the opposite side, which is the fine grain side. So make sure you're always glued to this side, because this is the top. That's where you're going to have the model sitting on. Okay, so just go ahead and quickly dump a whole lot of super glue around the edges. Make sure you go all the way up to the edge, as close as you can, because when the cork goes down on top of it, it's going to squish it out a little bit. Oops, glued myself to the model. And you only need a little bit on the middle. So the outside's the most important, and then I just put some dots around the middle. The reason the outside's important will come apparent later when we start putting the texture for the edges on. But as soon as you've got that on, get it on there and push it down and hold it. Just for a few seconds. Okay, so that's fairly well set. It's only been 30 seconds. Now, the next thing to do would usually be to cut it out using a blade, but for this, we're just going to break away the tile, just roughly off the edges like that. And then get yourself, I have these clippers here, what we're going to do is just go around the base, and where you've got an edge and it's hanging over, just bring it up and fold it up a little bit. Again, trying not to rip it straight off the base. You just want to do this as roughly as you can to give it a rough edge, so that you haven't got straight edges where you've cut. Okay, so, and after that, give it a rub on the edges like that, just to get the loose stuff off. If you see any strands, just pull them off. But that's pretty quick, and that's ready to be sprayed. So we'll go ahead now and we'll spray that with Chaos Black spray from GW, and we'll get straight on to painting it. But that's basically the texture down. Nice and quick, nice and easy. Okay, so that's all sprayed up black. Make sure you get in the sides when you are spraying. Do the sides first, that way you can get in on all the cracks, and then do the top. You still may see a little bit of the cork show through sometimes. If you're really finicky about that, you can get rid of it just by dropping some black paint in there. But otherwise, once you dry brush it, you're barely going to see it. And if you're doing a lot of models like I have with orcs, you're not going to want to bother too much. They'll look good as they are. So we're going to go straight on to dry brushing. First colour we're going to use is Dawnstone. So get yourself some paper towel, like I've got here, and get a little bit on your brush there, just a little bit, and start working it into the paper there. You want this to be quite a heavy dry brush, so make sure you're giving it a good fair amount of force. Don't worry about brush strokes at this stage, but the time you've finished, the undulations and the pattern of the cork itself will actually take over from any strokes that you may leave on there. So go ahead and give this a nice, good, solid with the grey. Don't forget to go down the sides as well, like that. Just really quickly, don't get all picky about it. Just give that a good once over, like that. You may notice sometimes when you're going along, you'll flick off a piece of cork. No worries, just drop some black or grey paint in there afterwards. But again, it's not going to be too big of a deal. So that's the first grey. You don't even need to wash this brush to go onto the second grey. And the second grey is Administratum Grey. Go straight onto that paint. And same thing, but this time you're going to do a much lighter dry brush to get a lot more of the paint off. And we're going to go around the outside edges only. So just to brighten up and give a little bit more to the outer edges. And any bits of detail like we see here. See a bit of the corks come off there. That's fine, we can cover that up later. Just go around, just the edges with this colour. And that's pretty much the paint done. You could go in, which I have done on different bases, more detailed ones for Eldar, is to go in with a sepia wash into the cracks, just to give it another colour there. But for the orcs, this is going to be totally fine. So that's the paint done. There is one more thing that I actually do add to the bases, and this is entirely optional, absolutely optional, and you can switch it up depending on what you prefer. But here I've got Modem turf from Citadel. Basically it's just little tufts of yellowy, greeny grass, I guess. So I've got a few of them. What I do is I just get the super glue here, and I put just a small dot here and there where I think the model's not going to stand, or if I've already got the model attached to it, I might. So I've got an exposed bit of cork there, so I'm going to put one on top, and then maybe one there and one there, and then grab little tufts and push it in. You don't need much glue for these, they stick really easily. They've actually got their own adhesive on them, but yeah, super glue is the way to go. You can use PVA glue if you want, I just find this a lot faster. and there you go. So that's basically a base finished. What you do with the black now is to go around the edges there. So I'll do that off camera, there's no point in showing you, but I'll go around the black of the base just to refine that and get the dry brush colours off of that, and then we'll go ahead and we'll put a model on there. Okay, so there's the base finished. I've done the rim there. Yeah, it's really simple technique and gets really good results. Yeah, like I said before, you could go further with little washes and maybe a bit of dirt and grime and stuff, but when you're doing so many orcs, it doesn't matter and looks really good. Obviously with the examples that we had before, you can see here that yeah, it works quite well. With the orcs, it's a contrasted colour to the skin of the orcs, so they really stand out really well on the bases. So there you go, that's how it's done. Hopefully everyone that's asked me the questions gets to see this video. Hope you enjoy, and good luck with yours. Cheers guys, we'll see you in the next one.